That's interesting.
I've got a question for you, Dan.
That's Jerry Springer sci-fi.
I got a question for you. The Hank Pym, Reed Richards argument from the last with the perfect punctuation where it goes, Dr. Richards.
It's on.
It's on, bitch. How did you get that through? That's all I want to know.
I spent all my political coin.
That's why.
There is stuff where you're like, you try to spend your political coin and you try to get that one thing, and man, my career is night and day from She-Hulk. Where with She-Hulk, the first issue of She-Hulk, I had She-Hulk go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and I got this note saying you can't say God. You're going to offend somebody. You're going to offend somebody in a red state if you say God. We're changing that to oh my gosh, and I'm like, well, that's not as good. But then I decided, you know what? I'm going to own that. I'm going to make that She-Hulk's new catchphrase. That's how I'm going to make that not be stupid. Is that whenever there's problems, she's going to go, oh my gosh. And that's going to be part of her personality. But then you come to now where I'm like, I'm not asking for anything. The whole run of Mighty Avengers, just let me say the B word once. And I will use it right. But to me, the thing is, it's not that he says it's on B word.
Right.
It's the setup. It's like what we were talking about earlier with comedy. It's not, because if he just said it's on B word, that's not funny. What's funny is 2 panels before, they're arguing about something, and Hank Pym goes, well, actually, Reed, I need you to give me that device, and if for no other reason, it runs on Pym particles. That's my invention. And Reed goes, that may be the case, Hank, but we both know I know more about Pym particles than you do.
Oh.
And then it's the one page of the spit take. And one character going, snap! And then you do that line. That's why it's funny.
No, but again, it's that whole setup where they're going back and forth, and Reed's like, well, you know, you're Hank Pym. I mean, you slapped your wife, you built Ultron, and he's going, oh yeah, well, let's see, you helped start the initiative. You got help get Captain America and Black Goliath killed by creating a clone of Thor. So your hands aren't exactly clean either, asshole.
You'll notice in the dialogue, everything Hank is saying, there's the thing he's about to say, and then he stops himself, and he says the cleaner version. That's the whole setup, is you're watching that get further and further away. So he's saying like, well, Hank, you do have a hand in Bill Foster's. You're the one who built the Clore Room. He's constantly holding himself back, so there's also that build-up. That I taught a class in writing for comics at like a last year. And everyone in my class got sick of me talking about Die Hard. Because if you look at Die Hard, you're like, shut up with Die Hard. But there's something about like a well-done thriller.
Right.
And it's the same thing with comedy, is there's potential energy and there's kinetic energy. There's the effort it takes to lift up the rock and then drop it. There's building the bomb and setting it off. You can't just, like the comedy, you can't set off the bomb every panel. Part of that, if you do it right, it's the roller coaster ride. It's equally as exciting to go da 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 da, and then you need the potential energy to get to the kinetic energy. And what something like Die Hard does really well is for every time it's lifting something, it's paying something off. So there's constantly a mix. So it's like you're charting that path when you're telling the story. I've seen a lot of people online, God, I love them, saying, Hank Pym would never say the B word. Hank Pym would never say the B word. Everybody in the universe would say the B word if you took them to the right spot. Someone as cool as Obama would say the B word if you got him to the right spot. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your politics are, your beliefs, or that's what's exciting. And you know what takes Hank Pym to that spot? Reed Richards telling him that he knows more about Pym particles. If your name's John Smith and I told you I know more about John Smith's wife, you take me out. Anyway, I'm out. I've had too much coffee.
Well, before I take listener phone calls, I have audience questions.
One is I wanted to have you guys reintroduce yourselves because people came into the room and they're turning on the radio in between.
Okay.
And then talk about your big break and then what you would recommend for other people so they can get their big break.
Okay, my name is Jamal Eigel. I'm the current penciler on Supergirl for DC Comics. Amongst the other books that I've drawn, Firestorm, Nightwing, Green Lantern Corps, Teen Titans, yada yada. I don't know, I've had a couple of breaks. I mean, my first break really getting into the industry in the first place was I got 8 pages published in an issue of Green Lantern, Green Lantern 52, which was right after Kyle Rayner became Green Lantern. So that was sort of like the first, sort of taste of regular work. And then my next big break was working on Firestorm with Dan Jolly and then with Stuart Moore for 2 years. And I think as far as like people getting into the business, it's a little bit different now. As hard as it was for me to get into the business, back in the early 90s, it is twice as hard now because at least back then they were, editors were looking at unsolicited material, they were looking at samples from new artists, new writers, because you never knew where somebody was coming from, and now most companies don't have an open submissions policy. So it's a little bit different, but the advice that I usually try to give to up-and-coming artists really comes down to being patient. And being patient as far as your own ability, because as a creative person, whether you're a writer, artist, a colorist, painter, or whatever, you're constantly learning, you're constantly changing. Your work, my own work evolves not just from page to page, but from issue to issue. You're always learning a new trick, even while you're drawing. So nobody comes straight out of the chute mastering all of the skills that they need to be a comic book artist or any type of creative, or comic book writer, any type of creative person. You're always learning. So be patient with your progress. You'll get to the point that you want to get to. You just have to be willing to put the work in. The other thing is,
it's like when you're in kindergarten and you first start drawing, and then from every year on, your drawing gets better. And yet you look back and you look at your kindergarten drawing and you go, oh my God, that looked like crap.
exactly.
You're always drawing. Chuck Jones, who created Roadrunner, had a really good saying, which was, every artist has 1,000 bad drawings in them, and it's good to get them out as soon as possible.
There's also another saying, I forget who said it, but as far as like comic book artists go, there's the quote-unquote rule is that you usually suck for the first 100 pages. And then after that, you actually figure out what to do and what not to do, at least in the beginning.